The Cannibal of Rotenburg. A willing victim, a horrifying crime. A quiet town, a hidden darkness. Rotenburg, Germany. A quiet, picturesque town with cobbled streets and countryside views. It wasn't the sort of place you'd expect to become the center of an international nightmare. Yet in March 2001, this small town's name would forever be etched into true crime history. For decades, nothing unusual had happened here. The most scandalous news might have been a petty theft or a neighborhood dispute. But behind closed doors, a man named Armin Meiwes was harboring a secret so disturbing it would leave the entire world speechless. Armin was 39 years old at the time, a computer technician by trade, soft-spoken, polite, even described as gentle by those who knew him. He lived alone in a large, old, half-timbered house he inherited from his mother. But Armin's private life was far from ordinary. From childhood, he had developed fantasies of killing and eating another human being, fantasies that grew stronger as he got older. For years he kept these thoughts to himself, but the rise of the internet gave him a way to act on them. Armin joined online forums dedicated to cannibalism. There he adopted the username The Master Butcher. He began posting advertisements, seeking someone willing to be slaughtered and eaten. A request so grotesque, most would dismiss it as sick fantasy. But then, someone answered. A victim who volunteered. That man was Bernd Jürgen Brandes, a 43-year-old engineer from Berlin. Outwardly, Bernd was successful, educated, and accomplished, but inside, he struggled with his own demons. When he discovered Armin's ad, Bernd didn't recoil in horror. Instead, he responded. Not only did he agree to meet Armin, he was willing to be killed. The two men exchanged messages, negotiating the details. They planned everything meticulously, and on March 9, 2001, Bernd boarded a train to Rotenburg. He wasn't being lured into a trap. He was walking into it willingly. The night of terror. When Bernd arrived, Armin greeted him politely. The two sat down together, shared food and drinks. But soon the reality of their pact began. Bernd had signed a contract, explicitly consenting to what was about to happen, and Armin, calm and deliberate, carried it out. The events that unfolded were so graphic that courts later restricted access to the full video evidence. What is known is that Bernd was mutilated, his life slowly slipping away, while Armin recorded the entire ordeal on video. Hours later, Bernd was dead. Armin then did what he had fantasized about since childhood. He butchered his victim, carefully storing the remains in his freezer hidden behind pizza boxes. Over the following months he consumed more than 40 pounds of Bernd's flesh. For a while it seemed as though Armin might get away with it. But he couldn't resist returning to the internet. He posted again, bragging about what he had done, seeking another volunteer. This time, someone contacted the police. When officers arrived at his home, what they found was like a scene from a nightmare. Body parts frozen and labeled, video recordings of the murder, and a confession from Armin who spoke calmly about what he had done, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Hungarian trial and legal shockwaves. The case quickly made global headlines. This wasn't just a murder, this was cannibalism. And even more disturbing, the victim had consented. Germany's courts now faced an unprecedented question. If someone wants to die and wants to be eaten, is it still murder? In 2004, Armin Meiwes was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 8 years in prison, but public outrage was fierce. Prosecutors appealed. 2 years later, at a retrial, he was convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The reasoning was simple. No one can legally consent to being killed and eaten. A community in horror. For Rotenburg, the story was devastating. A quiet village suddenly associated with one of the most grotesque crimes of modern times. Reporters from around the world descended, forever branding Rotenburg with the name The Cannibal of Rotenburg. Armin's house became a macabre landmark. Locals were horrified, struggling to reconcile the polite neighbor they once knew with the monster he truly was. The legacy of the case. Armin Meiwes remains in prison to this day. Strangely, he has since claimed regret, even becoming a vegetarian. He insists he wants to use his story as a warning about the dangers of internet obsessions. But the questions raised by his crime continue to haunt people. How could a man calmly commit such an act? Why would another volunteer to be the victim? And what does it say about the darkest corners of human desire? Never forgotten. For the world, the Cannibal of Rotenburg case was more than just true crime. It forced society to confront questions about morality, consent, and the fragility of sanity. A quiet town, an ordinary man, and a victim who walked willingly into the nightmare. A story so disturbing, it remains unforgettable.